Today we will look at Git. Now think of Git as like a time machine for your code. It saves versions of your projects so you can go back, so you can compare, and you can also work in teams without messing up the main code. Let's get Git installed. If you are on a Windows machine, then in your browser go to git.scm.com. You download the installer, run it, click next, and leave the default settings and you're fine. After the installation, open your command prompt like I see here in the in Mac, and type in git version, enter, and see if it's installed. Now I am on a Mac and I have Homebrew installed, so I'm going to say brew install and then git. There. And now I can check the version. And I can see now it's installed. It is important to understand that every time you save something with Git, which is called a commit in Git, so you commit a file, it's like taking a snapshot of your product. So it's how it is at that moment. This helps you then, if you need to go back in time. You can compare versions, or you can even, if you've made mistakes, go back to previous versions. You can use it alone, but it's very powerful for team collaboration, because you can branch off, and then you can work on your own branch and someone else can work on their branch, and then you can merge them together. It's also super good to undo mistakes. So basically, if you don't want to lose, if you've made a mess of it, make sure that you have at least committed often, so you don't lose a lot of work, like half a day. It's also good to track your progress, because you can see who changed what and when they change it. Now let's configure Git. We do that by telling Git who we are. So git config, we're going to set this global for the computer, and it's going to have a username, and I'll set it like this, and we do also an email. So config global user.email, and then I'll say my work mail. There. The best practice is to always set your name and email once, so that every commit is connected to you. Now, the name doesn't have to match your computer's username. And also the email should match your GitHub account if you plan to push your code online. That is very important. Yeah? Let's test our configuration. So I do git config list. And here you can see username and email. Let's just clear the view. And let's open Visual Studio Code as well. So we'll leave this window and we'll open this up in Visual Studio Code. So now I've opened up Visual Studio Code, and I've opened it up a new folder here, and I call it Git Practice. So I'm going to open up the terminal inside of Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to initialize the project that I'm going to work on in here. Now you can see that something happened here, and I can actually check that here. List everything. So you see there's a little .git file here. This is going to keep track of everything I do. So let's do git status, and git status here says that I'm on branch master and there are no commits yet. So there's nothing to commit, everything is empty. So it's very important to know that git only works when it knows it's inside the project. So right now I'm in this folder and I run git init, so it's working. And it's also very important to know that this starts tracking this folder as a project. Now, we also see that the main branch is called master, and it is not very modern anymore to use master. So we're going to use git branch, and we're going to move that to main. Okay, so I'm going to say main. So now when I look, it's called main. Yeah. Let's create our first file here. I'm just going to keep it clean. So I'm going to say touch. You can write touch and then index.ts. You can do this, or you can of course create a new file there. So this is quicker. Touch index.ts, you see here. And now when I do git status, it is listing this one here. It's saying it's untracked. And untracked basically means that Git sees the file but isn't saving it yet. What we do then is we can do two ways. We can add everything, or we can add one file. Now of course in this case one file is everything. But let's just stage this one file, yeah? So we say git add, and if we want to do just one file, stage one file, we have to specify it there. Then, if we do git status again, now it's green, okay? So now it can be committed. Let's do that. We say git commit, and then we need to dash m, yeah, and we're going to name this, and the naming is important. This is our initial commit. There. Now we can have a look at the log, and look here. This is the ID, sort of the commit. This is the author, username and email address, and this is when. And this is the message that we added. We can also have this as a one-line log. Then we type git log, one line. Oh, one, not online, one line. There. Nice and clean. Let's add some more files. So this is a second file, and we could third file. So they are added here. Let's do git status. And you can see again, these are untracked in my Visual Studio Code. You can also see that they are untracked, the U for untracked. Then instead of adding one file, like we did here, I can just include all of them. So instead of naming them like this now, second file, .ts and then doing it like that, I can just say the dot for everything there. And I'll check again. Now they are green, ready to be committed. So let's type in git commit. And what shall we say? We'll just say add example type script. TypeScript is written here. Files and sample code. No, we don't have it. We don't have any code yet, so let's do it like this. There. And I can do git log. And now you see, this is my first one. Let's see. The initial commit. And then this is my second one. Make sure that these messages here describe what you are doing. Yeah? Describe what you're doing. Don't just say something vague. So, for example, second commit, third commit. It doesn't say what you're doing. So if you need to go back, it's really hard to know, okay, what have I been doing? Now, let's say you're playing around. You've got your nice, clean main branch, but you want to play around a little bit. Yeah? So you want to, one second. You want to branch off and practice. Then we can do git branch and see where we are now. Okay, we are now on the main branch, but maybe we want to play around with some buttons logic or something like that. We can say buttons. So git branch and we say buttons. Then when I type in git branch, I now have a branch called buttons. But you can still see I'm still on the main branch. So what I can do is I can say git checkout, and I now go to buttons. I get a message here, switch to branch buttons. So then when I say git branch to check that, I can see I've moved over to the branch called buttons. Besides saying checkout, we can also say switch. So let's try switch. And we go back to the main. And you can say we switched back. So checkout or switch, whatever you like. Now let's go back to git checkout buttons. Let's go back to buttons there. And let's edit the index file here. Let's type let clicks equals 0. And then let's create a function that we can later export function. And I'm going to call this handle button click. And every time I click, it's going to add from 0 to 1 to 2. And what I want to return is a message. And the message should say button clicked. And then I want the count to be the clicks. Wrong ones, of course, these. there. Now let me look at git status. It says, oh, you've modified this file. So we can say git add, and because there's one file here, I can just do that. I can say git commit and then I can say add button functionality, and I say git status. Good. Git log. Now I can see. So let me go here. I had the initial commit. I had when I added the example TypeScript files, and now I also added the button functionality. But here you can see that in this one here, I branched off to buttons. Okay, I branched off to buttons. You can see the code here. Now let's have a look here. You can see I'm still in buttons. But what happens if I go to git switch main and look at it up here, look it up there. It disappeared. Interesting. When I do git switch buttons, it appears again. Okay, so you can see that I've sort of gone two ways now. In my buttons, I have created something that is not in my main branch. It's not in there. So if I want to, I can merge it into the main branch. If I say, yes, I like this, let's go with it, then I can merge it into my main branch. So let's switch back to main. Main, clear. And then I can type in git merge buttons. And when I press enter, the merge brings the buttons into main. If merge conflicts happen, then we can resolve that in VS Code. Right now there are no errors. So there, and you can see then, now that I'm in git branch, it appeared in here too, and it wasn't in there before. Git status, it's all good. Git log, now you can see that it's in main here. Yeah. So we had the initial commit, then we had the example files, and here then what we did here is we were first in here, then we branched off to buttons and we merged it back into main. When I do the git log here, I get this this line here. Then what I can do is, if I want to, I can go back to the beginning. So this was the beginning, right? Let's see here. I want to go all the way back here. So I'm going to copy this now, and I'm going to say git checkout, and I paste that in. And what happens now is that I went all the way back to the beginning here. See? I went all the way back to the beginning. Okay, I'm going to stop here. This is just a simple start to get you going with Git. And I'm now going to give you an assignment to practice it a little bit more. So enjoy.